So you take antibiotics because you got the sniffles and you're completely destroying that gut bacteria. That could take years to rebuild, by the way. There's a lot of analogies between soil health and gut health. And what's going on in the world right now in humanity, if we use our own two eyes and some common sense and we look around, the soils of our earth are being scorched with glyphosate and chemicals, and civilizations throughout history have come to collapse because of soil health, because of agriculture, because of over-farming. Serotonin is made in the gut. Dopamine is made. All of these things are made in the gut. It's downstream effects from the gut. And your immune system relies on the bacteria in your gut. We already know what happens when we take antibiotics. What are these pesticides doing to our gut bacteria and our gut health? Common sense would tell me it's over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates declared that all disease is rooted in the gut. And today I want to talk about some insane things I've been learning about regarding our gut microbiome.
I learned how to truly eat like a human being. 99% of our genes actually come from the microbiome. The microbiome is actually what builds our immune system.
The bacteria that we have in our gut and the connection between the gut and the brain. I had an awesome woman on my channel the other day. Her name is Malia, and I'm going to be doing another video with her to learn more about gut bacteria and our health. But I have gone down the rabbit hole since doing that video with her, and I wanted to talk about it more. I wanted to talk about carnivore and gut health and some of the things I've been learning. I've ordered some books. I haven't read those yet, but I signed up for this masterclass thing, and they have a 3-episode series on gut biome, and I just watched that in the morning, this morning, and I took some notes on it. But all of these things are starting to come together, these puzzle pieces in my brain regarding this, and I'm still learning. I am not a doctor, I'm not an expert, I barely graduated high school, but I like to learn, and when I start figuring out truths, I want to share them with you, so I'm kind of taking you along with me, learning about gut bacteria and gut microbiome more, and a couple of incredible things that Malia told me and some things I've learned subsequently and some things I've heard over the past that bring all these puzzle pieces together. When I started carnivore, I thought, well, this is just doing so well for my health and everything's improving. I'm down over 100 pounds since my heaviest. I overcame depression and anxiety, which was the biggest thing for me. I suffered with that for 15 years on every medication. My IBS went away. I stopped snoring. Like, all of these things improved for me on a proper human diet. And I thought that was just strictly because my body was in more of a ketogenic state than before. I'm burning fat for fuel instead of carbs and sugar. That's a part of the equation, but I've subsequently learned that gut bacteria is a bigger part of the equation. One of the things that I encourage you and everyone to do is use common sense in your own two eyes when you're learning about things and when you're judging bias, because so much in this world is biased information that is solely put there to stir you up, to cause fear because that's what sells news, or to perpetuate a bias because someone's trying to sell you something. I used to think when I'd see these science studies on the news that they were there for our well-being and our health, and I have since learned that no, they are all there. They cost millions of dollars in some cases because they're trying to sell some sort of pharmaceutical, boys got the zoomies, or they're trying to sell a cereal or processed food. Like, if you want to sell an incredible amount of sugar, which is what this world is made up of right now, you demonize meat and you put out these studies that can say whatever they want to say. My two boys over there are carnivore, by the way, and their gut bacteria is awesome. One of the things, oh my goodness, one of the things I've learned that is so interesting is think of the soil in the ground similarly to how you think of your gut. Now, the soil in the ground, if it's rich with microorganisms and bacteria and nutrients and minerals and good stuff, and you put a seed in, you're going to get a nice carrot, really green leaves, and that carrot's going to have good nutrients in it. In the same way, our guts have bacteria in them. And if you treat your guts well and you have good bacteria and it's rich and it's diverse in different types of bacteria, you're going to be much healthier. Your body is going to grow like the carrot. Your body is going to be healthy like the carrot. You put the nutrients, the minerals, and the good bacteria in, and your body is going to be healthy like the carrot. There's a lot of analogies between soil health and gut health. And what's going on in the world right now in humanity, if we use our own two eyes and some common sense and we look around, the soils of our earth are being scorched with glyphosate and chemicals. We're putting so much fertilizer and chemicals and glyphosate, forever chemicals, into the soil just to try to get something to grow. Why is that? Well, because the health of the soil is deficient. It's almost non-existent. The soil is turning to dust, to sand. And throughout history, you can do your own research on this. I learned this from Lear Keith, who I'll be publishing that interview soon that Em and I did with Lear Keith. But the soils of our earth are being destroyed. They're being scorched by glyphosate and chemicals. And agriculture is being run amok. We're overdoing it. And you can plant a seed in soil, but if the soil is dust and dirt and there's nothing in there, there's no nutrients, there's no minerals, there's no bacteria, microorganisms in there, you're not going to get anything to grow unless you pump a whole bunch of chemicals into it, which perpetuate the problem. And civilizations throughout history have come to collapse because of soil health, because of agriculture, because of over-farming, because of destroying the soils of the earth. And that is what's going on in the world right now. We are trying to mass produce all this processed garbage, which is all plant-based. You go in the grocery store and there's 60,000 products in the grocery store. If it's in a box, if it's in a bag, or if it's in the produce section, that's agriculture. That's produce that comes from the soil. Those are all plant-based items. In order to continue to get those things to grow, we're putting more and more chemicals into the soil. And I love this analogy when I think about things. I just try to break them down and make them easier, of comparing soil health to our gut health. And we are destroying, as a civilization as a whole, we are destroying our soils, and we're blasting them with glyphosate and chemicals. And the carrot that we get out of the soil nowadays has 1/7 the nutrients that it would have 50 years ago. The produce that we're getting now it may look green and healthy because they're putting fertilizer and crap on it, but it has 1/7 the nutrients that it did before. And the soils are getting worse and worse and worse. And in a very similar fashion, that's on the macro, the whole world. Break it down to the micro, the individual. We're destroying the soils of our guts. We're destroying our guts. We're destroying the bacteria that are in our guts. How are we doing that? Well, there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. And I'm still learning more about this. I'm not an expert. I'm going to have Malia back on the channel. She taught me a lot about this, and I have been learning more. But one of the things that she told me that was so incredible was the good bacteria in our gut feed off of fat and proteins. The bad bacteria in our guts feed off of carbs, starches, sugars, carbohydrates.
Good metabolites that make us healthy, strong, and thrive till we're 120 years old. Those bacteria can only live on fats and proteins. Harmful, pathogenic bacteria, and then opportunistic bacteria that can take advantage and cause havoc. They only thrive on starches and sugars. So basically carbs. So yes, it's incredible.
So that was incredibly eye-opening, and that makes sense to me. Maybe that's why I feel so better on carnivore. The other incredible thing that she taught me was, I told her, like, right around 3 weeks, I started feeling better, noticeably better, noticeable improvement in my mood. Not that my depression and anxiety was completely gone. And then I told her, I said, I've interviewed hundreds of carnivores at this point, and they all say the same thing. I hear so many people saying, right around 3-4 weeks, I noticed something drastic, a whoa moment, what's going on, where something's changing in their mood. And she said, Carrie, I know why. And she said, because there's bad bacteria in our gut, and there's many, many, many different types of good bacteria and bad bacteria, but one of the bad bacteria in our gut starts dying off around 3 to 4 weeks when you starve it of sugar and carbohydrates.
We have a very set timeline of when these different bacteria will die off. And so certain bacteria are starved between 3 and 4 weeks. They cannot go, if you go without starch and sugars, they'll completely die. And you'll have a lot of reactions usually at 3 and 4 weeks.
And starches, which is exactly what we're doing on the carnivore diet, and precisely why a lot of people feel so good and start to have that mental clarity, that mood improvement right around 3 weeks. The interesting and fascinating thing she told me was, that's just the first round. There's other rounds. Then at 2 months, you get rid of this bad bacteria, and then this happens. Then at 6 months, you get rid of this one. And at 2 years, it could even take 2 years to really get all of that bad bacteria out. Other things will happen, and people with advanced autoimmune disorders will actually see things happening at 2 years. And they have all of this science, they have all this scale. The company organization that Malia works for, They're working on getting millions of dollars put together to do funding for this. They've done tons of case studies on this, on the gut microbiome. And she uses a carnivore diet to fix all of her health issues, which was just incredible. So I encourage you to watch that video if you'd like to learn more. But I wanted to share a little bit more about what I've been learning. And normally I go with no notes or anything, but some of this is fresh in my mind. I want to cover everything. So as I was saying, just as humanity is degrading our soil through glyphosate, chemicals, unsustainable farming practices, we're also destroying our gut health in the same way. Just like a beautiful, healthy tree will grow if the soil is rich in nutrients and microorganisms and it has a good biodiversity of those things, it's the same thing with our guts. And most of our guts in the world right now are completely destroyed because we're feeding them processed foods on the standard American diet, sugars, starches, carbs. That's one part of it that everyone talks about. The part of it that I am bringing new to the table here, or at least I think I am, because I've been doing a whole bunch of research on this and I haven't been able to hear people talk about it. You'll have some people that are the plant-based advocates that say you got to eat more plants to change the biodiversity. You got to get the fiber to change the biodiversity. The problem with that I am learning is that takes out the context. That may be true if you're on a standard American diet eating that garbage, you need that fiber, but the context changes when you're in a strict ketogenic diet like I am on a carnivore diet for 530 days now. The context is important. The thing that I'm not hearing people talk about that I believe is a huge issue is when you're eating those plants and that produce and you're trying to eat like a plant-based diet, clean, free from the standard American diet, which I agree is huge. Getting rid of the standard American diet and processed foods is a huge equation. And you can do that on a plant-based whole foods diet or you can do it on a carnivore diet. The problem that I believe that people aren't addressing is when you eat a plant-based diet and you go to the store, which 99% of people get their plants from the store, they're not growing them in their garden. It's amazing. I'd advocate if you can grow them yourself in good, clean soil that's regenerative and it's got nutrients and minerals in it because you got a cow pooping on it and you're rotating things. That is great. 99% of humanity not doing that. 99% of humanity goes to the grocery store with 60,000 products on the shelf and 99% of them are from plants. And 99% of them are riddled with pesticides, glyphosate, and forever chemicals. We already know what happens when we take antibiotics. Well, we should. Most people don't. I took them throughout my life foolishly, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I believe humanity's making right now. I remember, I got the flu or something. I go to the doctor, and they give you some antibiotics. Completely destroys your gut health. Good bacteria, bad bacteria. There is a huge tie-in from your gut to your brain. Serotonin is made in the gut. Dopamine is made. All of these things are made in the gut. It's downstream effects from the gut. And your immune system relies on the bacteria in your gut. Everything, all of these chronic issues that we have downstream are usually a result of chronic inflammation, and the chronic inflammation starts in the gut from putting the wrong food in there that's feeding the bad gut bacteria. So you take antibiotics because you got the sniffles and you're completely destroying that gut bacteria. That could take years to rebuild, by the way. And then you end up with leaky gut. You end up with depression. You end up with anxiety. You end up with all of these downstream issues. A lot of people talk about antibiotics and how it destroys your gut bacteria and how bad that is and why you shouldn't do it. A lot of people don't know about it yet, so I'm trying to educate people on that as well. But what happens when you're eating some produce from the grocery store and you take it home and you sprinkle some water off it, but that produce is completely permeated with pesticides? And people will say, oh, it's the dose that matters. A little bit of pesticide poison isn't going to kill you. I said it before, I'll say it again. If it ends in the word "side," that means death. Homicide, suicide, herbicide, pesticide, it is there to kill, it means death. And if you're getting organic, more power to you, but that does not mean there's no pesticides on it. Almost all organic produce, mark my words, do your own research, has pesticides. It's just a different form. Some can be synthetic, some can be organic, but in either case, it ends in the word "side," it's there to kill you. What are these pesticides doing to our gut bacteria and our gut health? Common sense would tell me it's probably not very good for it. What would glyphosate do? What is glyphosate? A weed killer. Killer, there's the word death again. What would happen when we ingest glyphosate? There's already studies out there that say it causes leaky gut. There's studies out there that say it breaks the blood-brain barrier. Do you think it has any effect on our gut bacteria and gut biome? I'm not seeing people talk about this. I'm going to do more research. Please leave a comment down below if there's a book on this I can get, or if you've heard any of the other good doctors that talk about these things, that are talking about what are pesticides and glyphosate and forever chemicals doing to our gut bacteria. I hear people talk about antibiotics, but I don't hear them talk about that. And there's a lot of people out there that advocate for, you got to diversify your gut bacteria by eating a whole foods plant-based diet. Well, again, if you can get off the standard American diet and sugar, I believe more power to you. But I am seeing so many people that try that, a whole plant foods-based diet, myself included. My wife did it, my daughter did it, and they end up miserable and they end up suffering. And I got to wonder, is it because of the toxins in the plants that are there as defense mechanisms? Is it because the plants have 1/7 the nutrients they used to, therefore we're spending all this energy we're exerting in our digestive system to process something that we're getting 1/7 the nutrients out of that we could have otherwise, or maybe 50 years ago? Or is it the pesticides and glyphosates and forever chemicals? Or is it probably a combination of all of those things that people are suffering on a vegan or plant-based whole foods diet? I'm not knocking it if you can do that and get off the standard American diet. I'm with you. It's 100 times better than the standard American diet. But I don't want to lead people astray and just say, oh yeah, that's fine, just do that. Because I believe pesticides and glyphosate are a huge part of why our gut bacteria is getting so screwed up and so messed up and it's hurting people. All right, so I have a couple points. I made some notes here I want to talk about in addition to that. So let me see here. Where did I leave off? Call to action. So why is a carnivore diet so effective? A lot of people say, well, it's just because it's an ultimate elimination diet. And you're getting rid of a lot of those things that are feeding the bad gut bacteria. I believe that to be true, but I don't think that's the whole case. I think part of the reason too is because when we're eating a carnivore diet, we're getting... Today's video is brought to you by ButcherBox. There is a link in the description below. They have awesome free offers. Their meat is grass-fed, grass-finished, and the reason we promote it, I'd prefer you go get meat from your local independent farmer, but a lot of people can't do that. You can go on ButcherBox's website, you can order it. They have lots of promos like get free meat for 1 year. Right now they got free ribeyes for a year, which is my favorite cut of steak. The offers change from time to time, but there's a link in the description below. If you use our link, you can get those free steaks for a year. They'll deliver them to your house. Fatty meat. And our brains, our hormones, our brains are made of fat. Our hormones, everything relies on that fat, and it's been demonized for so long. I truly believe when I started eating that fatty meat, I was deficient in cholesterol. And there's so much misinformation out there about cholesterol. Your total cholesterol number doesn't matter. It's the quality of your cholesterol that matters. And I believe the world and myself prior to this was deficient in cholesterol. Once I started getting that fatty meat, I got the cholesterol, my whole cholesterol number went up, but the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, the particles and the particle size is what matters. And that's what Dr. Philip Ovadia taught me when we interviewed him for our documentary. Once I started getting that fatty meat, my testosterone went up, my hormones balanced, my mood improved. So there's multiple factors that go into this, but I believe the gut bacteria as well is another factor in there. I started eliminating that bad gut bacteria and improving the good gut bacteria, and then I got serotonin developing in the gut again. The hormones are improving, the sleep's getting better, the immune system. One of the main points I wanted to make about gut bacteria that I thought was so interesting was it affects everything. And most people don't even talk about it or even understand it. So here was one other interesting fact. I'm going to go around a little bit here because I'm still learning all of this, but did you know that you have more gut bacteria in the human body than you have human cells? That was incredible to me. Microbes in your gut, in your digestive system, are crucial for nutrient processing, immune function, mental health. Much like how healthy soil supports plant growth, a healthy gut supports human growth and a human growing well. And much like, going back to the soil analogy, this is what I'm coming full circle to. Civilizations have fallen throughout history time and time again. You can Google this, you can do your own research on this because we've destroyed the soils of the earth, we've overfarmed them, and they've become deplete of nutrients, and it's collapsed civilizations. And I believe it's happening again right now on our planet, and a big part of it is because of over-agriculture. A big part of it is because we're blasting our soil with glyphosate and chemicals to try to get things to grow. We're destroying our soils, becoming just devoid of nutrients. In a very similar manner, on a macro scale, we're doing the same thing to ourselves The soil of the earth is the same thing as the guts of ourselves. We're destroying our gut. We don't have rich biodiversity in our guts. Our gut microbiome is unhealthy, it's not healthy anymore, and that leads to disease. And ultimately, it's going to end to our own collapse as an individual. As a civilization, we're doing it as a whole right now, and it's something everyone should be aware of. And as an individual, we're doing it to ourselves individually, and it's leading to chronic inflammation, which leads to every single disease out there. It leads to depression, it leads to anxiety, it leads to type 2 diabetes, it leads to cancer. If you have chronic inflammation, systemic chronic inflammation for long enough, you end up with mitochondrial misfunction, you end up with cancer. It leads to dementia, Alzheimer's, like every chronic non-communicable disease out there is from chronic inflammation, which is root caused by the foods we're eating that are affecting our gut biome. It all goes back to the gut. So here's another note I made. The gut biome as the community of trillions of microbes in our digestive system, and these microbes are crucial for nutrient processing, immune function, and mental health. There's also neurotransmitter production. The gut produces neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and these are crucial for mood and behavior. This is akin to how healthy soil produces nutrients for plants. So these neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine, gut brain, there's a huge connection there that a lot of people don't talk about. It's a two-way communication between the gut and the brain known as the gut-brain axis. An unhealthy gut can lead to issues like depression, anxiety, brain fog, cognitive decline, the ability to pay attention, all rooted in our gut. So modern diets high in processed foods and sugars disrupt the gut biome and contribute to mental health issues. So how do we restore our gut health? The number one way we're destroying it right now is through the standard American diet. I believe the number two way we've destroyed it is through taking antibiotics unnecessarily. I believe the number three way we're destroying it is through pesticides, glyphosate, forever chemicals, or if we simplify that, an escape from what is natural. It is not natural to be consuming liquid death pesticide chemicals or glyphosate. Even if it's in small dosages that may not poison us, you know, you could smoke a cigarette and you're not going to fall over and die, but it's slowly giving you cancer and it's reducing your life. In the same way, when we're consuming pesticides and glyphosate, it may not kill you, and that's what the experts will tell you, it's the dose that matters, but what is that doing to your gut bacteria and your gut biome? I'm still learning more about that, but use your own common sense and try to figure it out. Probably not very good. What are metabolites? This is something Malia was teaching me about. You know what she told me that was fascinating? Humans don't digest food. We have a digestive system, but it doesn't digest the food. The bacteria in our stomach digest the foods, and then they create metabolites. So metabolites are small molecules produced during metabolism that are essential for processes like energy production, inflammation control, and brain function. Gut bacteria produces key metabolites such as short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, which regulate immune responses and maintain a healthy gut lining. Very similarly, how healthy soil ecosystems contribute to nutrient cycling. Different diets, particularly the carnivore diet, influence metabolite production, leading to improved health outcomes, just as different soil treatments can lead to more fertile ground. So, and then I had a note here, which I kind of touched on already, but if antibiotics can destroy both good and bad gut bacteria in our gut, what might pesticides be doing to our gut? Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was, we're talking a lot about nutrition, right? What we put into our body. This is mineral water, carbonated mineral water. We don't just come into contact with bacteria from the foods we're eating. We become in contact with bacteria from what we touch. Look, touching dirt. There's bacteria on that dirt that then gets into our skin and gets into our system that way. Babies, I learned this, are born devoid. Babies are born devoid of gut microbiome. And they get it from their mom during pregnancy. They get it from breast milk, they get it from food, they get it from nutrients, but they get it from things they touch as well. And so there's actually a lot of bad things that happen when we have this culture of wash your hands 46 times a day. Use the hand sanitizer every time you enter and exit a building. That is destroying both the good and bad gut bacteria. So if I were to go on into like a dirty hospital ward, for example, I'd probably wash my hands after that. But if I was out cutting a tree down on my property and I get some dirt on my hand like I just did now, I'm not gonna go wash my hands after that. There's bacteria that seep into our skin and into our body through things that we touch. Now think about this a little bit more. What are some other things that we're doing or that we're touching or that are coming into contact with our skin that could affect our gut bacteria, our overall bacteria in our body? Suntan lotion. We rub suntan lotion on our skin, and my daughter Emma quotes this all the time. I think she said 70% of what we put on our body ends up in our bloodstream. Suntan lotion being one of them, but there's a million other things people are putting on their body now. Perfume, cologne, the clothes we're wearing that have bacteria on them or synthetic materials on them that are rubbing up against our skin. Makeup, that's a pretty big one. Or just things that we come in contact with on our environment on a regular basis, but those would be the big ones. So in terms of improving our gut bacteria, what are things we can do? Carnivore diet, I think, is a huge, huge, huge one because we're fixing the gut bacteria. We're feeding the good gut bacteria with the fats and the proteins, and we're starving the bad gut bacteria with the starches and the carbs and the sugars. We're eliminating those things. But what we put on our body is another huge thing. Suntan lotion, makeup, all of those things could be affecting your gut bacteria. My goal right now in life is to learn more about gut bacteria, and I'm going to share with you as I learn more, but it's also to improve my gut bacteria as best I possibly can. The other remarkable and amazing thing that Malia told me about when we did that video was we were talking about cheating on carnivore, and I was saying, I've never cheated on carnivore, don't pat me on the back, I'm not shaming anyone who has. I just had such a powerful reason for doing carnivore. I was suicidally depressed on every medication for 10, 15 years suffering, and I begged God to give me a solution, and he did. I found the carnivore diet. And I'm not going to betray that by eating a Twinkie or some stupid food for some temporary mouth pleasure that I know I am only going to regret afterwards. So I haven't cheated on carnivore. My other reason for not doing it though was I knew that, hey, that could kick you out of ketosis. And then it could take a week before I get back into ketosis. And then maybe I got the keto flu and the headaches and the cravings come back, and I don't want to deal with any of that. But Malia told me, no, Carrie, you could then be refeeding that bad gut bacteria and it could just flourish on that. It flourishes on that sugar. It just blows up in an explosion. And it could take 2 years to get that back under control again. So cheating on carnivore may be more than 3-week proposition or a 1-week proposition or a couple days of suffering trying to get back into ketosis proposition. It could be 2 years of damage you're doing to your gut bacteria. My ultimate goal right now, improve my gut bacteria as best I possibly can. And I believe the best, simplest way, besides all the science and all the stuff we've been talking about, it's so simple. Return to what is natural. That's what I'm doing with the carnivore diet. It's not because I'm just eating meat. It's because given the 60,000 options I have in the grocery store to consume, eating meat is the cleanest, most natural thing we can eat. It's the most uninflammatory, natural food we can eat. It gives us all of the nutrients, all of the fat, everything in the proper proportions I need to thrive. It's the best option given all of the options in the world right now. So eating a proper human diet is number one for me, but getting natural sunlight, getting my hands in the dirt, not over sanitizing, that's another way to do it. Not putting suntan lotion and all sorts of garbage on my skin and synthetic chemicals and products that humans weren't intended to come in contact with. I'm going to avoid those things. I'm going to get fresh sunlight. I'm thankful, grateful, blessed. I'm going to put the proper nutrition in my body. I'm going to return to what is natural. So I hope that video helped you a little bit. I'm just scratching the surface here. I'm learning more. If you are a specialist in this area and you'd like to come on my channel, I'd love to interview. I'd love to talk to you more. Malia is going to be back on the channel. I just talked to her yesterday and invited her back, and she'd love to come back and do it. I will link to the videos that we did together. I'll leave a couple links in the description for more information about what I've learned. But I think the biggest advice I can give you is return to what is natural. Realize if you're taking antibiotics, you're destroying your gut biome. Realize that almost everything in your life, your immune system, your sleep, your ability to not get chronic diseases, it all comes from our gut. Hippocrates talked about this 2,000 years ago. It is all about our gut, and that includes, and most importantly, and what I will end this video with, depression, anxiety, PTSD, brain fog, just feeling in a funk. That is all not here. It is first here. Serotonin, gut bacteria, the the gut-brain axis connection. It's all rooted in our gut and what you're putting in your mouth and what you're putting in your body. As humanity, we've escaped from what is natural, returned to what is natural, and it is absolutely incredible how well your body will heal. I had some notes here, but I did that in one take. I'm not going to edit this video because I'm a carnivore and I don't have brain fog anymore. Oh, one last thing. If you want to learn more about what this shirt means, healing humanity through the power of a proper human diet, please visit healinghumanity.movie. We're interviewing people all over the world. We've conducted 30 interviews so far that are returning to a proper human diet to overcome incredible health issues. Some of these stories are miraculous, and I wouldn't believe them had we not insisted on looking at their medical records. People that had Parkinson's, people that had strokes, people that have overcome massive obesity, horrible clinical suicidal depression reversed on a proper human diet. We're sharing these real stories with the world through our documentary, and it would not be possible without the generous donations. If you buy our shirts or if you sign up and become a member on my YouTube channel, every penny goes towards this documentary. I put thousands of dollars of my own money into it and all of my own time. It's a passion project. I don't ever want to make a penny off of this because I believe that's the reason most of humanity is sick right now. It's all from greed run amok, and I want to do something in my life that's going to have meaning, that I can do for passion, that I can help save people, help inspire people to change their lives and find a path to healing. And I'm going to do that through this documentary. I'm doing it through my YouTube channel right now, and I want to do it just for the sake of doing something good, for helping humanity, for healing other people. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone heal and find the path to healing and change their lives forever through a proper human diet. None of it would be possible without this community, this amazing community. People that have donated on our GoFundMe. We still have an incredible hurdle to overcome getting this film, the remainder of it filmed and edited, but then the marketing is incredibly expensive if we want to reach millions of people like we do. So if you can donate, please visit donate.healinghumanity.movie or buy our shirts or become a member on our channel. We also have an awesome newsletter below. All of this is linked to in the description of this YouTube video. Thank you so much for your support. Be a proper human, return to what is natural. Beep. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about our documentary, Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet, or supporting it, please visit donate.healinghumanity.movie. Our goal is to reach millions of people that are hopeless right now and sharing the examples of real people over the course of 1 year that are undertaking a proper human diet to overcome obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, fertility issues. We couldn't do it without you. We thank you so much. We are also selling these shirts, Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet. Every penny we get from those goes towards the documentary. And last, we have memberships. If you click the little join button, it's best to do it on desktop. Under any one of my YouTube videos, you can join and become a member. We have hundreds of members right now. We do members only videos. We do members only behind the scenes. You can email me as a member and I'll answer you. And every penny from that goes to support the documentary. And the last thing is we have these Redmond's portable salt shakers. These things are awesome. You can get the best salt. You can take it with you. We sell these on the website along with our water bottles and cutting boards, and every penny from all of those goes 100% towards supporting the documentary. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which is completely free. All of these links are in the description below. Thank you so much for your support.